Well, Defense Secretary Ash Carter warning that we need to have our U.S. troops stay in Iraq even after ISIS is defeated. Mr. Carter saying that is how the U.S. and our coalition partners can counter the foreign terrorists and fighters in the whole region. But the decision will now fall, of course, to a new administration. So what potentially could the Trump plans be? Joining us now, as usual, is Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Fox News contributor, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, who has been on the list of a possible Secretary of State. And just this morning, the Vice President-elect, Mike Pence, said Mr. Bolton is one of 5 contenders for Secretary of State. So we shall see and wait to see what decision is made, Ambassador. Good to see you as always.
Glad to be here.
Ash Carter made these comments saying we have to have a presence in Iraq. Do you agree? What type of presence should there be, and what do we do?
Well, I think we probably will need a presence there. Obviously, ISIS itself is not yet defeated. But let's stop a minute and note just how extraordinary this statement is. After President Obama withdrew all American forces in 2011, and in my view of many others, led to the chaos that allowed ISIS to flourish, now we're talking not only about having gone back in, but staying for a protracted period of time. I think the new administration will be formulating a policy to deal with ISIS. Candidate Donald Trump made it very clear he wanted to defeat ISIS as rapidly as possible. And I think it also needs to be done in a way that minimizes the upside for Iran, which, after all, is one of the major factors in this multi-sided conflict. Obama's strategy really maximizes the advantage to Iran in defeating ISIS. I think that's exactly the wrong way to go.
How do you minimize Iran's influence? What would you suggest as we go forward?
Well, I would rely, frankly, less on the Baghdad government, which has become a surrogate for the Ayatollahs in Tehran using the Shiite militias. I think we've done less than we should be doing with the Kurds. I think we ought to bring other Arab states into this, and I think we've got to find a way for Turkey somehow to put aside its conflict with the Kurds and figure out job one, getting ISIS defeated.
Do you think Turkey and Erdogan would potentially do that, considering how he's cracked down, you know, on the free democratic values of that country?
I'm very troubled about the state of play in Turkey overall, but given its border with what used to be Syria and the presence of ISIS right near that border and their lines of communication and supply through Turkey, I don't think this is a winnable conflict without Turkey's participation. But what it underlines is the complexity of putting together this political coalition if you're prepared to say you don't want to advantage Iran. And I think advantaging Iran is going to have long-term consequences. The issue here is not simply defeating ISIS militarily, although that's central right now. It's what replaces it. What is the power, as the Soviets used to say, what is the correlation of forces once ISIS is defeated?
And you're right when you say what used to be Syria. Finally, you mentioned the point. Look, December 2011, the president withdrew with the last 10,000 American troops. He said there was not a status of force in agreement. But we have our troops back there now.
With no status of forces agreement.
Where was this warning? Where was Ash Carter back then saying, you know, keep the troops there? It seems that the administration has it trying to have it both ways.
Yeah, and they have, and of course the mainstream media don't comment on that. So that brings us to what I think is the most important thing we need, and that's for the next 6 weeks to pass quickly and noon on the 20th of January to come as soon as possible.
All right, and a lot of people, I'm sure, are waiting for that, especially you and others. Ambassador John Bolton, as always, good to have you here. All these 15 years, and I guess I would say I would like you to remain, but we'll see what's in the cards as it comes.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.